This is another evolution in the ongoing standoff between the U.S. and China. You have the U.S. making allegations last week of a tanker docking in Hong Kong carrying Iranian oil, which would be in violation of U.S. sanctions in the eyes of the U.S. You have the Chinese government saying in our law that is not a concern of ours. So you do have a bit of an issue to see how the U.S. reacts from an enforcement standpoint on an ongoing basis. But it just adds another wrinkle in an ongoing complexity of this trade debate.
Yeah, and your clients there that I no doubt you are visiting, Dan, are people worried? Are they in a mild state of panic? Or is it like, listen, this is going to work itself out. We just need some time?
I think there's a bit of numbness to some of these issues and threats from the U.S. in the form of tariffs, in the form of sanctions enforcement. The U.S. has yet to truly go after China from a sanctions standpoint. Clearly, from a tariff standpoint, the measures have been significant. The U.S. government seems to have divorced the two issues. From the Chinese perspective, they believe that they really are one and the same in terms of the ongoing relationship between the U.S. and between China. So I do get the sense from talking to clients locally that they are a bit numb to seeing how the U.S. will react. There have been measures taken against smaller institutions in China with respect to their ongoing business with North Korea and Iran, but that can easily be ratcheted up. If you do take the example of some of the technology companies that have posed a very big part of the ongoing trade dispute, one of them was put in, well, both of them have been put in the hot seat related to alleged activity with Iran. So this has formed a significant part of the debate, but none of these issues have really been seen through. There's kind of been statements made by the U.S. It's been put out there in a threat to cease the business with Iran by some of these other parties, but there's been no follow through.
Well, we might see what happens, because right now there is one supertanker that is floating on the ocean somewhere out there. It is owned by a Chinese bank, and it is filled with Iranian oil that was filled up after the sanctions went into effect. Now, that ship, we've been tracking it, has not come to port yet to unload that oil in China. You're a sanctions leader, Dan. If that ship were to come in direct violation of what the United States is saying cannot happen, what do we do? What's our policy here?
So that is the real issue. The U.S.'s position on Iran is a unilateral position. Historically, the U.S. had allied support in the treatment of Iran. That's not what we're seeing today. You're beginning to hear noise of an attempted push away from dollarized transactions, which we've heard for years as a threat before. But until someone can truly punish the U.S. for these unilateral moves, it will be really difficult for the U.S. to tamp down its expectations. I think what's important to note with the vessel that you mentioned, there has been ship-to-ship transfers for years to transfer oil off vessels onto other vessels midstream in transit. There's been moves to turn off the AIS tracking equipment so that vessels can move untracked. For all we know, the boat in question could already be here in Hong Kong. But there's a number of measures that people have taken for years to circumvent sanctions, and I can only imagine that that's continuing at this point, especially since the oil waivers expired last month.